Good morning, class. I hope all of you have watched the video on occupational health which I have posted. Today, we will deal with one of the occupational diseases, that is pneumoconiosis. So, I welcome each and every one of you into the class, and the topic of discussion today is pneumoconiosis. At the end of today's class, we'll be able to define what is pneumoconiosis. You may tell what are the types of pneumoconiosis, how the pneumoconiosis occurs, that is the pathogenesis, what are the signs and symptoms, what are the complications. You will be able to diagnose a case of pneumoconiosis and you will be able to prevent the occurrence of pneumoconiosis. With this, let's begin our class. Let's start with a case vignette. Suppose you are the medical officer of a industry, that is an industrial medical officer. You have been posted there. A 54-year-old coal mine worker has come to you in your OPD, and the chief complaint is productive cough for last 3 months. Whenever you are taking the personal history, you came to know that the person is non-smoker but a binge drinker. He's working in the mine, that coal mine, for last 28 years. You order a sputum for acid fast bacilli to negate the tuberculosis, and that test came to be negative, that is no acid fast bacilli was found in 2 sputum sample specimen. As per the national program, it was negative. Then you order a pulmonary function test and it reveals that there is a restrictive lung disease. So what comes in your mind is that is some internal changes has occurred in the lung parenchyma and the mucociliary spaces, where there is some damage and some changes, and thereby there is restriction of the lung movement, thereby decrease in the air entry into the lung. So you do a chest diagram and it reveals large opacities representing progressive massive fibrosis, and there are regular borders due to adjoining emphysematous changes of the lung. This is what you got. The x-ray I have provided. This is actually a real life scenario. The x-ray of that patient has been provided below, and you can see well that there are in the middle lobe, in the perihilar region and the adjoining middle lobe, in both sides there are massive fibrosis with regular border, and this fibrosis is more in the left side, and that's why the trachea has been shifted towards the left side. Okay, now what this case is, what is the diagnosis? Subsequently, after the end, at the end of the class, you will be able to know and diagnose and treat the case, as well as prevent further occurrence of any workers of that industry. Okay, now occupational lung disease. Lung conditions that develops as a result of personal inhalation of harmful substance as his or her workplace is known as occupational lung disease. It is primarily of two types. The first is pneumoconiosis and the second is hypersensitivity disease. Hypersensitivity disease are like asthma. It is due to the overreaction of the lung to the airborne pollutants. So there is some response from the lung due to the air pollutions, or maybe in the agricultural workers due to farmer lung, due to hay, due to allergens, due to perthenium. So these are hypersensitivity reactions, and pneumoconiosis is caused by dust that gets into the lungs tissue. Okay, so pneumoconiosis and hypersensitivity disease, these are the two types of occupational lung diseases. The problem statement or the situation analysis reveals that a study in India reveals that there are about 30,000 cases of death in quarry operators due to silicosis. There was a study in Jharkhand where about the morbidity due to silicosis is about 25 to 30 lakhs workers. Again, another study from East Singhbhum, Jharkhand, we have found that the lifespan of workers of this unit is 35 years only, and the prevalence of Silicosis is about 100% in that mine, and that mine deals with mainly crushing, disintegrating, sieving, packaging, loading and unloading of the silica dust. And those who are working there for 1 to 7 years, such poor is their occupational health that either they are dying, and if they survive also, they are having high morbidity due to silicosis. Okay. Now, what is the definition of pneumoconiosis? Before we go to the definition of pneumoconiosis, this is a very important definition because it comes in the exam. So mind that pneumoconiosis comes from the word, two word, pneumos meaning lungs, and conia meaning dust. So the dust induced lung disease is what pneumoconiosis stand for. But for a formal definition, you have to remember that fibrosis and scarring of the lungs secondary to repeated inhalation of dust within the size range of 0.5 to 3 micron after a variable period of exposure associated with some occupation resulting in reduced working capacity and other morbidities and mortalities is known as pneumoconiosis. I repeat the definition because this definition is complete one. You have to give a complete definition underlying the condition, underlying the pathogenicity, underlying the disease, underlying the mortality, morbidity associated with the disease, and everything associated with it. Okay, so this is what a complete definition will provide. So I repeat the definition of pneumoconiosis, that is, pneumoconiosis is the fibrosis and scarring of the lungs secondary to repeated inhalations of dust within the size range of 0.5 to 3 micron after a variable period of exposure associated with some occupation resulting in reduced working capacity and other morbidities as well as mortalities is what is known as pneumoconiosis, and the word is derived from two words, that is lungs, which is denoted by pneumos, and dust, which is denoted by conia. So dust induced lung disease is what is known as pneumoconiosis. So let's proceed to the next slide. Pathogenesis. What is the pathogenesis of pneumoconiosis? Pneumoconiosis is primarily due to the dust particles. So these dust particles, when we inhale in our occupational field, it goes to the lungs. In the lungs, it causes the inflammatory changes. What type of inflammations? It's a chronic inflammations. And this chronic inflammations with the engulfing of the dust particles by the involvement of macrophages, the elastic tissue of the lung is changed into fibrous tissue, and this fibrous tissue ultimately results in scarring of the lungs. The lung scar results in decrease in the vital capacity of the lung, thereby there is increased preponderance of restrictive lung disease, and this restrictive lung disease is later on associated with all the morbidities and mortalities that are associated with occupational lung disease or pneumoconiosis. Okay, is that clear? Let's start with a case vignette. You suppose you are the medical officer of a industry, that is an industrial medical officer. You have been posted there. A 54-year-old coal mine worker has come to you in your OPD, and the chief complaint is productive cough for last 3 months. Whenever you are taking the personal history, you came to know that the person is non-smoker but a binge drinker. He's working in the mine, that coal mine, for last 28 years. You order a sputum for acid fast bacilli to negate the tuberculosis, and that test came to be negative, that is no acid fast bacilli was found in 2 sputum sample specimen. As per the national program, it was negative. Then you order a pulmonary function test, and it reveals that there is a restrictive lung disease. So what comes in your mind is that is some internal changes has occurred in the lung parenchyma and the mucociliary spaces where there is uh, some damage and some changes. Next is the duration of exposure. It about 10 to 15 years are necessary for development of the tissue reaction and individual susceptibility. So better health status has less chances. So it depends upon the immunity status of the person. If the person is already being affected by tuberculosis, if the person has repeated exposure to other lung conditions, if the patient like congenital emphysematous disease of the lungs, if the patient is a chronic smoker, then there are more chances of pneumoconiosis in these individuals. Such is the importance of pre-placement examination and periodic medical examination. Again, it will be discussed. I've already discussed that in, if you remember that, in the class of occupational health, right? Now, what are the classification? Major pneumoconiosis is silicosis, minor are bagasosis, and benign is siderosis. So this is a broad classification, but the main classification is the types. What are the types? Firstly, it is due to the inorganic dust. In inorganic dust, it may be silicosis due to silica, anthracosis due to coal dust, asbestosis due to asbestos, siderosis due to iron, aluminosis due to aluminium, barytosis due to barium, beryliosis due to beryllium, lithosis due to stone. So silicosis due to silica, anthracosis due to coal dust, asbestosis due to asbestos, siderosis due to iron, aluminosis due to aluminium, barytosis due to barium, beryliosis due to beryllium, and lithosis due to stone. Next is, if the question comes, this comes as the types of pneumoconiosis, right? The first, the inorganic dust, then is the organic or vegetable dust. It may be divided into further like bicynosis or cotton dust, bagasosis or sugarcane dust, tobaccosis or tobacco dust, and firmer lungs due to moldy hay. So it is bicynosis due to cotton dust, bagasosis due to sugarcane dust, tobaccosis due to tobacco dust, farmer's lung due to moldy hay. So is it clear? The two types of pneumoconiosis. Now let's begin about the different types. First is the silicosis. Silicosis is the most common type of pneumoconiosis. It is mostly in mica mines and also in other mines like ceramic mines, pottery, etc. The silica is present in the earth crust. About 12% of the earth crust is composed of silica. It's present in rocks, clay, sands, and it goes into the lungs. You cannot notice it because it is odorless, it is colorless, it is non-irritant, it is insoluble. So you don't suspect this lethal thing which is very common among us and which is apparently harmless, but when get inside for a longer period of time to our lung, it really causes harms. Now what are the harms? Let's see. Pathogenesis, that is free silica particles are phagocytes by the macrophages. Macrophages release the macrophage fibrogenic factor which causes a cytotoxic reaction resulting in fibroblast proliferation that results in fibrogenic reaction in the pulmonary interstitium. Fibrogenic reactions in the pulmonary interstitium resulting in nodular fibrosis in the lungs of about 3 to 4 millimeter size. Mostly the apex and the posterior border of the lungs are affected. Massive conglomerate fibrosis, that is a fusion due to the fusion of the adjacent nodules, and conglomeration are precipitated by another comorbidity, that is tuberculosis. So these silicosis patients are very prone to tuberculosis and vice versa. That is, if there you find a person who has got tuberculosis in the pre-placement examination, please don't put the person in a silica mine because silicosis invites tuberculosis, as also the tuberculosis patients are more prone to silicosis. So both the temporal relation of cause and effect do exist in this case. Second is incubation period. It may be few months to years depending upon many factors like the size of the dust particle, duration of exposure, type of dust, many things. But the clinical features is constant. That is chronic cough, exertional dyspnea, sudden loss of weight, emphysematous changes of the lungs, chest pain and hemoptysis, which are like complications, mostly in complications which those which are complicated with tuberculosis. Diagnosis you can make by chest x-ray. You will get snowstorm appearance in chest x-ray, PA view. What are the complications? I have already mentioned. First is tuberculosis, then chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, emphysema, pulmonary hypertension resulting in cor pulmonale or right heart failure, Kaplan syndrome. Kaplan syndrome, it comes in MCQ, that is silicosis along with rheumatoid arthritis, because rheumatoid arthritis itself has some lung changes. It can itself cause restrictive lung disease. So when this rheumatoid arthritis is coupled with silicosis, that is known as Kaplan syndrome. Management: no treatment is available. Once the pathology is detected, it is permanent. Fibrotic changes cannot be reversed. So treatment are given for complications and prevention is the best measure. But one thing you must remember, that silicosis is a notifiable disease under Indian Factories Act 1948 and Mines Act of 1952. So once there is any case of silicosis, you need to report it to the government of India through proper channel. That is must for any industrial medical officer. Anthracosis. Anthracosis is due to the coal workers pneumonia, which is known as miner's black lung. This is caused by inhalation of the coal dust over a long period of time. Pathology: it causes coal particles accumulate just before the bronchioles open into the alveoli. Aggregation of the coal dust results in a macule formation, which is known as coal macule. It generally it is having two phases. First phase is the simple pneumoconiosis, characterized by little ventilatory impairment and requires 10 to 12 years of exposure. There is atrophy of the bronchial smooth muscle and dilatation of the bronchiole resulting in focal emphysematous changes. And in the second phase, which is the progressive massive fibrosis, which occurs much later after the resolution of the first phase, there occurs pulmonary hypertension and right heart failure, that is cor pulmonale, as well as severe respiratory disability along with congestive cardiac failure. What are the predisposing factors for anthracosis? Again, tuberculosis, smoking, respiratory infections, autoimmunity, cystic fibrosis. These are all predisposing factors which leads to increased preponderance of anthracosis. Again, anthracosis is a notifiable disease as per Indian Mines Act 1952 and are compensable under Workmen Compensation Act of 1959. I have already mentioned these things in my classes on occupational health, where I dealt with occupational health legislations, right? What are the complications? I have already mentioned. First is tuberculosis, then chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, emphysema, pulmonary hypertension resulting in cor pulmonale or right heart failure, Kaplan. Next pneumoconiosis is asbestosis. Asbestos is the commercial name, but the material, it is a fibrous mineral silicate, that is silica combined with oxygen and other elements like calcium, magnesium, iron, sodium, aluminium, etc. results in formation of asbestos. It is used in manufacturing of sheets, pipe, gasket, fireproof textile, etc. And asbestosis can be caused by inhalation of asbestos dust for a long period of time, which is generally an occupational exposure. It is mostly of asbestos are mostly of two types. In 90 to 93% of the cases, it is serpentine or chrysolite, which is known as white asbestos. The compound is hydrated magnesium silicate. The second type is amphibole type, that is hydrated silicate of iron, calcium and sodium. Serpentine is of magnesium salt and amphibole is iron, calcium or sodium salt. Among this amphibole type, the most hazardous is crocodolite. Crocodolite is blue in color and it is mostly hazardous. Another one less hazardous is amosite, which is brown in color. So if the MCQs comes or in the Viva question comes, which is the most hazardous asbestos, that is crocodolite or the blue asbestos. Okay, and it is the hydrated salt of iron, calcium, and sodium. Asbestosis results in fibrosis, that is fine diffused interstitial fibrosis around the terminal bronchioles. Mostly the lower half of the lungs are more affected than the upper half, whereas in silicosis you will have the apex and the upper half more affected than the lower half. There is thickening of the pleura and there are features of bronchiectasis and emphysema. Emphysema is present in both silicosis, in anthracosis. This bronchiectasis is a feature of asbestosis. And pleural calcification, this thickened pleura, pleural calcification, bilateral symmetrical pleural calcification, all points of diagnosis towards the asbestosis. There are some new carcinomas which are associated with asbestosis. The commonest is bronchogenic carcinoma, and the pathognomonic is malignant mesothelioma of pleura or peritoneum. So if you get a person who has got occupational exposure coming with malignant mesothelioma of the pleura or the peritoneum, you can know that he is exposed to silica dust due to asbestosis. Then diagnosis you will get on X-ray ground glass shaggy opacities, and on sputum, on routine examination of the or microscopic examination of the sputum, you get asbestos bodies, which is due to the engulfment of the asbestos by the macrophages. Bicynosis is due to the inhalation of cotton dust. It is common among workers of textile industries. Aerobacter cloacae contaminates the cotton fibers in hot and humid climates, and it affects about 7 to 8%, nearly about 10% of the textile workers, and it is mainly due to a bacteria known as Aerobacter cloacae. It results in symptoms like, first is the acute symptom, that is tightness in chest and altered respiratory functions within hours of exposure. And if chronically exposed, that results in chronic cough, progressive dyspnea, and emphysema. But on X-ray, you won't get any characteristic features like in other diseases. The other form of organic dust pneumoconiosis is bagasosis. Bagasosis is due to the sugarcane dust. Sugarcane is also known as bagasse. So it is sugarcane dust causes bagasosis. It is utilized in the manufacture of paper, cardboard, rayon, etc. It is also seen in sugarcane factories, paper and cardboard industries, rayon factories. And ironically, bagasosis was first diagnosed in Calcutta in the year 1955 in a cardboard industry, where the first case report of bagasosis taken place. Bales or bagasse after exposure of the juice in hot environment predispose the growth of some fungi. These fungi are known as Thermoactinomyces sacchari. Bales, when broken for use, the fungus enters the respiratory tracts and sets the disease. The incubation period is lower, it is only 2 to 4 months, and in X-ray you will get mottling appearance. In bicynosis there is no extra changes, but in mottling appearance you will find in bagasosis. It resolutes. This is not permanent. If given some chance, some rest and prevention of further exposure, then it resolutes. It is mostly of asbestos are mostly of two types. In 90 to 93% of the cases, it is serpentine or chrysolite, which is known as white asbestos. The compound is hydrated magnesium silicate. The second type is amphibole type, that is hydrated silicate of iron, calcium, and sodium. Serpentine is of magnesium salt, and amphibole is iron, calcium, or sodium salt. Among this amphibole type, the most hazardous is crocodolite. Crocodolite is blue in color and it is mostly hazardous. Another one, the clinical features are same as bronchial asthma. Allergic bronchitis with eosinophilia in the blood you will get. Repeated attacks result in pulmonary fibrosis and cor pulmonale, which is diagnosed by the cases of dyspnea after exposure and decrease in the FEV1 FVC, that is interstitial lung disease, followed by heart failure. Diagnosis in X-ray will get fine nodular densities. Pathognomonic is HRCT chest, and you can do a lung function test to see the restrictive lung disease. Asbestosis results in fibrosis, that is fine diffused interstitial fibrosis around the terminal bronchioles. Mostly the lower half of the lungs are more affected than the upper half, whereas in silicosis you will have the apex and the upper half more affected than the lower half. There is thickening of the pleura, and there are features of bronchiectasis and emphysema. Emphysema is present in both silicosis, in anthracosis. This bronchiectasis is a feature of asbestosis. And pleural calcification, this thickened pleura, pleural calcification, bilateral symmetrical pleural calcification, all points your diagnosis towards the asbestosis. There are some carcinomas which are associated with asbestosis. The commonest is bronchogenic carcinoma, and the pathognomonic is malignant mesothelioma of pleura or peritoneum. So if you get the next point of primary prevention is health education. Employees at risk educated about the hazards of dust inhalation over long periods, hazards of smoking as precipitating factor, hazards of increasing their immunity power, hazards of being exposed to tuberculosis, importance of increasing their immunity power, hazards of alcohol. Everything should be explained to them in a cordial environment. Regular and periodic health examination along with health education proves a lot in prevention of the pneumoconiosis. Provision of healthy physical environment like improvement in cleanliness, adequate ventilation at work, good housekeeping like wet mopping of the floors and walls prevents the dust, helps the dust to settle down, and less of the dust will be in the atmosphere so that you can inhale less. Dust control measures like prevention of formation of dust at the point of origin by water spraying, oil spraying or streaming, that is wet drilling, example wet drilling of rocks. Prevention of escape of dust into the atmosphere by having a special enclosure or cabinets or hood for the machinery at the point of origin of the dust. Combining it with the exhaust ventilation, that prevents the escape of the dust into the atmosphere. Example, keeping moisture content below 20% and spraying 2% propionic acid controls the bagasosis. Use of safer types of asbestos like chrysolite and amosite reduces hazards of asbestosis, right? Removal of the dust by special ventilatory arrangement, that also prevents the pneumoconiosis. After health promotion is specific protection for primary prevention. By specific protection is using face mask and using respirators, gas mask, etc., whichever is applied. Face mask is ideal, and face mask is not only for COVID-19, it also prevents the occupational lung diseases. So face mask is a must for all those who are exposed to inorganic or organic dust due to their occupation. It's must for them. Next comes the secondary level of prevention. Secondary level of prevention again has 2 points: early diagnosis and treatment. For early diagnosis, you have to do periodic medical examination. Pre-placement medical examination is a primary prevention. If the examiner asks you pre-placement medical examination, it's always a example of health promotion, that is primary prevention. But periodic medical examination is for early diagnosis, that is a part of the secondary prevention. So periodic medical examinations including X-ray to detect the respiratory diseases at early stage, offending occupation removed and given another suitable job to the person. If detected before fibrosis sets in, the resolution occurs except for 2 diseases, asbestosis and anthracosis. Mostly others, the resolution occurs. But if the patient is diagnosed in the late course and there are some disabilities which has developed, then we go for the tertiary prevention. The tertiary prevention again has 2 points: disability limitation and rehabilitation. What is the disability limitation? It is the limiting the further disability of the worker by detecting the slightest degree of disability, that is early detection of the disease before the fibrosis sets in, or if the fibrosis sets in, it is in the early stage of the disease, right? Like in anthracosis, in the early stage, before the progressive damage has occurred, before the progression of the emphysema. If we can diagnose, that will be a great help in preventing the disabilities. The second part of the tertiary prevention is rehabilitation for those who have become handicapped due to development of the fibrosis, either physically handicapped, psychologically handicapped, or vocational rehabilitation. Physical, psychological, social, and vocational rehabilitation should be provided. Once in a national conference of IPHA, Indian Public Health Association, which was organized in the month of February in 2017, I was lucky to visit a place. That conference was in AIIMS Jodhpur. I visited that place, and they have a rehabilitation center for the silica workers or mine workers. It's a beautiful center. Those people who are already having silicosis or different forms of occupational lung disease have been rehabilitated there. So they are doing other forms of occupation. Some are doing animal husbandry, some are doing farming, some are doing pottery, some are doing jewelry work. So they are doing wonderful works there, and it's a place to visit. We had a pre-conference CME on occupational health. I attended that, and in the second day of the pre-conference CME, they have taken us to the actual field where this type of rehabilitation work occurs, and how to organize them, how to educate them, and rehabilitate them with their family and mass, and do a better occupation, uh, lesser stigmatization. So that I visualize through my own eyes. It's a beautiful thing. Whenever you go for Rajasthan tour, please make it a visit to visit this village. It's one of the tourist destination in Jodhpur, right? So, what is the national program associated with this occupational lung disease? The International Labour Organization and World Health Organization Joint Committee on Occupational Health launched in 1995 a global program on elimination of silicosis from the world by the year 2030. That is the same like Sustainable Development Goal 2030. Okay, the objective of this program is develop and implement this program to encourage every country to develop its own national silicosis elimination program, and to provide a knowledge base for countries that wish to launch a national program. So it is again in an incipient stage. Subsequently some revisions will come, but again this is a good move that they have come with a global program for elimination of silicosis by the year 2030. That is the limit from the world. Okay, with support to all the nations who will be actively taking part in it. Okay, with this I conclude my class. Thank you all. In case of any difficulties, you can contact me personally in my WhatsApp number. I wish you all a happy learning. Be safe. Okay, thank you all.